I apologize for what I said after the game. I know I sent out a tweet. We've got a bunch of emails, shows the interest in the position. We're gonna vet them all. It's hard to obviously get on a roster, so not everybody can qualify. At the end of the day, like I told our guys, we got to do a better job coaching them, giving them confidence, putting them in a position to be successful. And one of those guys will probably be the guy moving forward, and I'm excited. I thought our football team battled in the second half. I thought they fought really, really hard. I mean, if you look at our second half of that game, we played pretty good football. We didn't capitalize, and like I showed them today, we lost the moments of the game. We lost 3rd and short on offense. We lost 4th and short on offense. And when you're on the road, you can't do that. I mean, both of my 4th down decisions to go for it were net minus 10 points. And, if you convert one of them, not only is it, 7 points that they don't get, it's potential 3 to 7 points that you get. They're 10 to 14 point swings if you convert one of them. But we didn't. So at the end of the day, both those decisions to go for it were minus 10. We lost by 10.
Chris Cartman, Sun Nova Source. Kenny, when you kind of re-examined and had time to decompress on those, what did you think about those decisions and the calls? And of course, you have a new quarterback, so that's a factor. So, how'd you feel about it all?
Yeah, the first one, the 4th and 3, that's like I don't go by a book. I don't have a book, but I've used the book so much that I know it. Or the 4th and 2, 2.5. I think it's more 3. The book says it's 2, or the websites because it's close. But that's like a very common / aggressive go. Like when you're near midfield and you're only going to flip roughly 30 yards of field position for a 4th and 2. I wanted the ball to be in Scott's hands. That's one thing I told Coach Arroyo. Maybe we hand the ball off, or we use Jeff as a +1, or we do something else. Obviously, putting space blocks out there, probably a bad job by me on that call. I don't really like the what we did there on it. Would I probably go for it? Maybe not on the road, because we're struggling on the road with these waves. So maybe I shouldn't be as aggressive on the road and try to not play non-aggressive, but don't put ourselves in position to have more drastic waves throughout a game. If a team's going to score on the road, we've been struggling giving up like 21-point swings on the road, right? So maybe we punt on the road and make them drive further, right? Whereas at home, we can be more aggressive because we got the fans behind us and it's not the end of the world. We're struggling right now with these, 21-point swings, 17-point swings on the road. So maybe I got to reevaluate how aggressive I am on the road versus how aggressive I am at home, just based off of our football team. The second one, the 4th and 1, I wanted the tempo there as 4.5 yard. We're going to go for that every time. As long as I'm the head coach here, we're going to go for that. We've done that a lot. We've been successful. We handed it to our best player. They made a good play. The tempo call caused our guard not to get as vertical. In hindsight, I would not tell Coach Arroyo to tempo it. I would just stay quiet and say, go for it. We would have gotten a better play in because the tempo call, you can't get as vertical. You have to track block more. And for that reason, they were allowed to do an exchange game to beat us. So hindsight, I wouldn't tell Coach Arroyo to tempo. I'd sit back, get the best call we have in our plan, not the fastest call, go out, execute, get a first down. And if we convert either of those first downs, like I said, those aren't just the minus 10 that we gave up in those 2 calls. They could potentially be +3 or 7 on our end too, which that alone, one of those 2 conversions could literally change the entire dynamic of the game. And like I said, we got to coach better. I got to coach better in those situations.
Hey, Coach, I know you said you were going to go through some of those emails, vet them. Just to clarify, are you still looking to bring on a kicker onto the roster? Or
if there's somebody good enough, we've been vetting them. They've been vetting them for a long time. If there's somebody good enough, at the end of the day, we have 3 guys who are collegiate kickers that are really good, and they are. And we got to do a better job as a staff with them to get them more confident. And I met with them for 30 minutes today. I've been talking to them a lot, so I'm excited for those guys moving forward.
And at what point after the post-game press conference did you feel the need to then clarify what you said and send that tweet out?
Yeah, just when I realized that it was affecting a kid. I've never in my career done anything that's been had a negative effect on a kid, and I've had some really bad seasons, some really bad play, and absolutely failed them.
Coach Brad Denny, 3TV, CBS 5. What you've seen from your team through the first 7 games of this season, how does that kind of compare to where you think the team would be at this point heading into the year?
So you say that again? I'm sorry.
So, what you've seen through the team through these first 7 games so far, how does that compare to kind of where you thought or where you hoped your team would be at this point?
Well, I hope we'd be 7-0. I mean, I hate losing. I absolutely hate losing. I'm very, very passionate about this team, about this game. Absolutely hate losing. Drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me. It's unacceptable. Like it happens, but you should never learn to like it. I mean, if you learn to like losing, that's not a positive. But our guys are fighting. Like, we're very close. We're in every game. Like, that's not the goal to be in every game. We got to find a way to finish those. But college football is crazy right now, and I think we're in a really good spot. I mean, we're 5-2 with 5 weeks left. I think the vast majority of the fan base would be celebrating if we said this was going to be our situation going into this year. For me, I never look at it like that. I looked at it like, how can we be the very best each game? And we've been in every game, and we've had an opportunity to win every game. And that's the frustrating part is when you've had the opportunity to win every game and you haven't. But, I think we're in a really good spot at 5-2 heading into this bye week. And 2 more games at home, 2 more games on the road, and 1 more game down south.
Hey, Coach. Blake Neiman, Sun Devil Source, right here. How are you planning to utilize this bye week to prepare for a daunting stretch ahead of more of the top half of the Big 12 conference opponents?
Get healthy, and not like healthy in terms of like big injuries. Obviously, Sam, we're hoping we get back. He's questionable still for the game. I would say it's 50-50 if he's going to return. Maybe 60-40 that he won't. Like we're just still in that stage where we don't. The next week will be telling here for us, his return, and then get all our other guys like the bumps fixed out, like the twisted ankles, the hamstrings a little tight, that type of stuff. And then we'll see how Javen is doing. He's getting some tests done today to see what his return to play is. I don't know that right now, but when I know, you guys will know.
Hey, Coach. Jake Sloan, Devil's Digest. You guys now the first 2 bye weeks, a road loss heading into the bye week. Compared to that first bye week, where do you feel like the team is now?
Yeah, obviously they're upset because, we felt like we could have won the football game if we win a few more of the moments in that situation. And, like, I'm upset because I felt like I could have coached better. And that's upsetting when you feel like you didn't do everything you could to win a football game, or you didn't perform to the level that you want to perform at for us. So yeah, we're a little upset, and that's how it should be. And unfortunately, like, we've lost both of our games for the bye weeks. You're supposed to win those games and then feel good for 2 weeks. Instead, we've lost those games and you don't feel good for 2 weeks, which is probably good in the long run, but not ideal.
Last time you guys lost on the road, you said it was a lot maybe because of the effort that the team was putting in at home, maybe not on the road. Was that the case this week? And what was it that you guys saw?
No, I thought we started fast. I mean, we did start fast. The first 3 drives of the game were stop, score, pick. I mean, we started fast. The effort was there. It's more the emotion of the game. We're falling in on the road to where when something happens, we just can't quite stop it from rolling kind of out of control early in these away games. So, like I said, that's where I got to look at myself and say, okay, normally I'm a max aggression guy. I'm actually not a max aggression guy. I'm a moderate aggression guy. There's people way on the more aggressive side of go for it's than us. We're not even in the top. I haven't looked at it, but I bet you we're not even in the top 40 of 4th down attempts in the country. So I'm a moderate aggression guy. And for us on the road, that's something I got to look at because we keep facing these waves of like, oh, whoa, we're in it. And then it's like, drive. Dang, down 14. Dang, down 17. Maybe that's something I got to self-evaluate and say, hey, let's be a little more conservative on the road, make teams drive longer, right? kind of stay in games longer till we get comfortable on the road. Because once we get comfortable on the road, we play good football. Back half of Texas State, back half of Texas State, back half of Texas Tech, back half of last week. So it's just that second into the first, second quarter that all three of those games have just kind of gotten out of control. And I think I can do a better job in just maybe managing those away games just a little bit differently with the team that we have to just kind of mitigate that time.
Hey, Kenny, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. Last bye week, you talked about the self-scout. Going into this one, do you feel like you have a good idea of where that self-scout will take you?
I think so. I thought we came out of the bye with good plans. I mean, offensively, we made some tweaks, and I think it was for the better. I think, the Utah game was good. The Kansas game was good. Then obviously we have to reassess and kind of tweak things around Jeff here, until Sam gets back. And I think that's going to be important for us to look at. Okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of our team with that? And then I think we have to really go back and work on the things that teams have gotten us with. There's been a consistency of some of the schemes that teams have gotten us with. And we have to go back and work that during the bye week because sports is a copycat deal. So if somebody's getting us with it, then we're going to see it again. And defensively, I thought we did a good job playing to our personnel in this last week's matchup. A little bit of man coverage more than we have. And I thought our guys did a really good job. Our defense was way better on third down. On Wednesday, I challenged our defense. Said our defensive third downs, I challenged us. To you guys, I challenged us to the media. I challenged them to them in person. Right, we got to be better, and they responded. Our third and fourth downs in the game on defense were the best we've had since week 3, which is a huge positive. They were just on the field too much because we didn't and weren't successful schematically on third and fourth down on offense.
Hey, Kenny, Max Pitt, Arizona's family. Multiple times this season, your reactions post-game, whether positive or negative, have gone viral. Texas State with 1 second on the clock, Utah with you disappearing into the fans, and then obviously last week. What have you necessarily learned about how passionate you are and how big that is when it comes to the reaction that gets to recruits, the reaction that gets to just the perception of ASU as a whole, and how has that necessarily given you, I guess, second thought of how you react post-game, or is that just going to be who you are?
Yeah, that's who I am, but I don't view myself as anything more than a normal person. And I got to realize that, unfortunately, that's not the case. You know what I mean? I view myself as everybody else. No bigger, no smaller, just another person being who they are. But that has nothing to do with the last week's game. That was unacceptable.
I wanted to ask about offensive scripting to start games. You scored in all your games except for the 2 interceptions. How much goes into that? How big are you in scripting? And then kind of how do you determine how far that you take that?
Yeah, I'm big on scripting. I think it's super important for your guys to know or have a plan for what your top calls are. I know Coach Arroyo is big on that, and he comes up with, I ask him every Thursday, I joke, I come in, I'm like, what's the first play? Or Wednesday night, then Thursday, what's the first play? Then Thursday night, what's the first play? And kind of, because I love that. I think it's really important to get to a good start, to get off to a fast start. And then obviously the ability to go back to those calls if they work. And then what's the purpose of your script? Is the purpose of your script to score? I think every game, the purpose of your script is a little bit different. Is your purpose of the script to not have a negative because this guy is super aggressive in his first drives of the game? Is your purpose of the script to see how they align to certain formations? Is your purpose of the script to just purely score, right? What are our best calls? Let's unload it early. I think there's different strategies you use, different games in your first script based off of the play caller you're going versus. Like last week, he was not a P and 10 pressurer. He was more of a mid-down pressurer, so we created a script around that. And I think every week you got to create a script around the guy you're playing versus and what you're trying to get accomplished.
And in the chess match, right? How much do you how deep can you take scripting, and how much tends to evolve based upon seeing different things or whatever?
I think it depends if you're getting what you thought. if you're getting what you thought, then I think your scripting can continue. If your trends or what you're getting is different than what you thought, then you got to be ready to adapt. And I think the thing about you're scripting for what they do, right? That's common sense, okay? But when they do something that they don't normally do, well, that's something they don't have time on task. So then what is your answer going to be? Because your answer, you're probably going to have practiced more than what they're practicing that's different than what they normally do. And I think that's an advantage for an offense is when a team is playing kind of outside of their normal bounds to kind of, stop what you're running. It means you have a good plan. They have to run an answer that they don't really like. Then you have to be ready to counter that answer. And I think you get off your script when they start countering what you're doing and they know what you're trying to get accomplished.
So how effectively would you say that you've done with scripting and with adjusting?
I think the scripting has been good. I think the adjusting is game by game been good. I think some games better than others. Texas Tech, obviously not great. This last week, obviously not great. I got to do a better job, especially on certain situations, getting us into better plays, offensively and defensively. I am active on both sides, on all three phases. I'm involved. So I got to do a better job. If I want to pressure, we need to light this guy up. We got to get him uncomfortable. And that happened this last week, and they throw a stock and go for 20 yards. It's not on Coach Ward. That's on me. That's me in the feel of the game. And that's how we've been doing it all year. So it's not just the coordinators. It's me saying, let's be aggressive here. Hey, let's take the clock here. Hey, I want to give the ball to Scat. Hey, we need to play some man coverage, right? They're giving free access throws. I'm not talking the nuances of the scheme. I'm talking like the big picture, like what I want to see from that while letting them call their game. But I got to do a better job in those situations sometimes.
Hey, Coach. Did you and the special teams coaches see anything like mechanically that was wrong with the kicking game, whether it was the kicker himself or the whole unit, or is it just kind of a confidence thing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've commented enough on it. I apologize, and we're going to look at that situation. I have a lot of confidence. I really do have a lot of confidence in those guys. I just met for 30 minutes with them. A lot of confidence in those guys. So,
Kenny, so two back formations earlier on in the game with Kyson and DeCarlos getting them involved. What are the advantages of that different look?
Harder to boss your backers to know. It really just helps the O-line. When you're balanced like that, are you in a 3-by-1 formation or are you in a 2-by-2 formation? And what I mean by that is linebackers / defensive line align either based off of your tight end or based off of the strength of your formation, 3-by-1, 2-by-2. So when you line up in some split back, they did a bunch of that big motion behind the quarterback that they did, that Utah did, handoff, outside zone is getting to split back. It's to balance your backers out to create better angles for the O-line. So I think when you get into split back and the ability to run left or right balanced, puts better angles up front. And I think that's really the benefit of split back run. It's nothing more than the angles you're creating up front. That was a good question, by the way.
Coach, heading into the season, a big talking point about the Big 12 in general was the talent of the running backs in this conference. What have you noticed now 4 games in halfway through conference play, the talent of those guys?
Really good. It really is. It's a loaded group up front. And this league runs the ball. It's funny because 10 years ago, this league threw the ball, and that's everything people talked about. Now this league runs the ball. They run it effectively. It's honestly we played Utah. They were number 1 in the country in time of possession. We mitigated that. Last week, they're number 11 going into the game. I don't know what they were now in time of possession. We didn't mitigate it because we didn't convert our 3rd and 4th downs, and then they ran the ball well, which keeps time of possession. And when you do that, we only had roughly 53 plays going into our last drive. You only have 53 plays going into your last drive. Well, crap, harder to take shots, harder to be aggressive. You don't have as many downs to really unload what your plan fully was. And that's a testament to them being able to control the ball, us not being able to convert those downs. But going back to your questions, this league's running back rooms are loaded. And it's by design, and they're all bigger backs. They're backs that run through you that are harder to tackle.
Coach, you talked about how much respect you had for Kyle Whittingham and the program that he built at Utah and how that's something that you wanted to somewhat model here at some point. Obviously, a program like Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, which has nearly been around for as long and has had that sort of standard, but similar to Utah, not living up to that standard this year. What kind of standard have you seen from Gundy's program, especially since you played them last year, and what kind of exemplifying culture aspects do you feel like you can put here?
Yeah, they always play really tough and they play really hard, right? And then they have a great home field advantage. So there is a lot of parallels. There's been consistency in their program, top to bottom, for a long time. They play really tough. They play physical. They have great home field advantage and a great winning percentage at home. I think the best teams, the teams that create a really, really good home atmosphere and home winning percentage, right, are going to always be consistently good in college football. And I think those are two things that those programs have done: physical toughness, right, and then they win a lot of home games. And I think that combination sounds really simple, but if you just look at those teams' success over the last 5-7 years, right, that's been the mechanism. Win a lot of games at home, right, play physical, play tough.
Coach, with the way the secondary's played, I'm looking at Keith Abney. I mean, obviously, I know he had another interception, but just, I mean, his growth from last year to this year, even from starting the season, and I mean, playing off the other guys in the secondary, but how do you feel his play's grown?
Oh, he's unbelievable. Keith's, I've said it multiple times, one of my favorite. I mean, he's worker, always around, overachiever, super smart, in the Barrett Honors College, like succeeding in the Barrett Honors College. First one in, last one out, like studying all the time. And that pays off, right? There's a reason he's having success, and it's the work he puts in. I mean, he's gotten bigger and stronger. I mean, he's 15 pounds, I believe, maybe 20 pounds heavier now than he was last year when he showed up on campus. Like, he's put in the work. He deserves the success he's having right now. And it's awesome to see somebody put in the work and then have that success.
Ex-Guillory didn't play, and there's been not a lot of diversity of your targeting, receivers, tight ends.
Yep.
How much of that is a factor for defenses being able to kind of key on what you're typically going to be more likely to do, and then what do you have to do to kind of...
Yeah, that was obviously, we made a decision going into the game that, you know, he was a little dinged up with a hamstring the last few weeks, that playing with an 85% X for the next 6-7 weeks is not a smart decision. And let's get him 100% healthy going for the last 4 or 5 games. So that decision was made later in the week on Thursday/Friday to do that when he just wasn't feeling right. We thought he was going to go earlier in the week. And that definitely, you know, and then Malik, we chose to redshirt this year to get back for next year. So losing those two guys, you know, out is definitely not a positive, right? But some of the stuff is by design with JT. You know, we feel really good about him, so we are moving him around to get him the ball. It's easier said, you know, the college game versus the NFL game, or the style of defense you play. Some styles of defenses can truly take bracket and double, and it's easier to do that. Other styles, it's harder. So you can move people around and get them touches. Whereas some teams, you know, if they're a bracket coverage team, right, or whatever, tight quarters or bracket quarters or, you know, it doesn't matter, Rip and Liz, depending on the double the slots, they can say, hey, if he's a slot, play bracket quarters, nickel and safety are doubling him. If he's the number one, right, who cares? He's the X to the field. They don't throw him the ball at the X to the field a lot, but we're always going to adjust to a coverage adjustment when he's inside. So if you don't play those teams, you really can't double or take him away or play him differently. So we definitely are going to play some of those teams on our schedule that play some of those coverages later in the year. So we need to target more people later in the year to protect that, what you just described, because it is a tendency. It is strong. We know it's strong. We know teams are going to try to take it away with whatever mechanism they have to take it away. And there are teams that have those mechanisms here coming up where they can change coverage based off of where he's at. And we got to be able to get other people involved. I thought we were getting X involved. X was getting in a rhythm there for 2 weeks, and then he tweaked his hamstring. And it was like, dang, right when we felt like, okay, we had X and JT getting in a rhythm at the same time, this could be good. He kind of tweaked his hamstring, kind of derailed us. So hopefully we get back to that here after the bye. Thank you.